Let me ask you something before we begin. If someone stole your retirement, destroy your future, and then walked free, rich, famous, and celebrated, would you call that justice? Because that's exactly what happened. This is the story of a man who sold lies for a living, made hundreds of millions doing it, served less time than some people get for tax mistakes, and then turned his crimes into entertainment. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The scam didn't really end. It just changed platforms. But we'll get there. Stay till the end because the final question might change how you see money, success, and even yourself. Where the hunger began. Bayside, Queens, early 1960s. A working-class neighborhood where dreams were reasonable, practical, and limited. Most kids were raised to aim for stability. A good job. A safe life. No unnecessary risks, but one kid wasn't listening. At 16, while other teenagers were wasting summers, this kid was selling Italian ice. Buy one, get one free if you bring 3 friends. It worked. By the end of the summer, he'd made $20,000. Now pause here. At 16, would you have thought, I can scale this? Or would you have thought, I got lucky? That difference matters. Instead of spending the money, he enrolled in dental school. First day, the dean stood up and said something that would change everything. If you're here to get rich, you're in the wrong profession. Most students laughed. One student stood up, nodded, and walked out. Not angry. Not confused. Certainly. Because he didn't want a career. He wanted money. And more importantly, he wanted control. The first collapse and the real lesson. Next stop. Meat. Yes, meat. Door-to-door meat and seafood sales. No trucks. No storage. No logistics. Just confidence and a pitch. USDA Prime. Flash frozen. Cheaper than your butcher. Sales exploded, 6 figures a month. But reality caught up fast. Late deliveries. Spoiled inventory. Unpaid invoices. The business collapsed. And this is where most people would quit. But here's the lesson he learned instead. The product doesn't matter. If you can sell confidence, if you can sell urgency, if you can sell belief, you can sell anything. Let me ask you, how many people today are selling confidence instead of value? Keep that thought. Wall Street finds its perfect predator. Late 1980s. Wall Street. Zoots. Bonuses. Egos. And cocaine in bathroom stalls. This is where he learned the language of money. Not finance. Not fundamentals. But persuasion. How to sound certain. How to overwhelm hesitation. How to make doubt feel expensive. Then came October 1987. Black Monday. Markets crashed. Phones went silent. Careers evaporated. He was fired. But while others panicked, he noticed something strange. The worst stocks. The ones no one wanted. Paid the highest commissions. Penny stocks. Unregulated. Illiquid. Ignored. And that meant one thing. No rules. Imagine this. Same phone call. Same script. Same pressure. But instead of 5% commission, 50%. And that's when the real game began. The call that changed everything. Imagine a quiet evening in Middle America. Dinner dishes are still in the sink. A house settled into routine. Then the phone rings. Hello, Mr. Thompson, I'll keep this short. The voice sounds confident. Professional. Urgent but not desperate. He talks about a small company. Barely known. Perfect timing. A ground floor chance before the rest of Wall Street wakes up. He layers the pressure carefully. Limited availability. Early access. A rare window that's about to close. You don't need to understand the company, the voice insists. You just need to understand where it's going. Doubt tries to surface. It's buried under certainty. Minutes pass. Numbers are repeated. The future is painted in bold colors. And just like that, a decision is made. $4,000 disappears with a signature and a promise. Now multiply that call. Buy hundreds. Buy thousands. This wasn't investing. It was persuasion dressed as opportunity. And here the unsettling question. If that phone rang tonight, would you hang up in time? Building the machine. He wasn't alone for long. He found people just like him, hungry, reckless, loyal to money. Together they built a firm with a name that sounded old, respectable, elite. In reality, a strip mall boiler room. No analysts. No experience. Just closers. Bartenders. Dropouts. People with something to prove. And then came the system. A persuasion method designed to eliminate hesitation. Keep the prospect talking. Never allow silence. Frame doubt as stupidity. Make saying no feel embarrassing. Phones screamed all day. Money poured in. And here where it gets darker. They didn't target Wall Street elites. They targeted regular people. Retirees. Parents. Veterans. People who trusted voices that sounded confident. In the stocks, some barely existed. Others were real but weaponized. Buy cheap. Hype aggressively. Dump silently. This is called a pump and dump. To them it was just Tuesday. If this already feels uncomfortable, pause and comment, watching so I know you're still here, because the next part explains why this still works today. When success becomes a religion. Money doesn't just change people. Unchecked money rewires them. What begins as ambition slowly turns into belief, and belief hardens into worship. Inside the office, reality disappeared. Strip clubs replaced lunch breaks. Drugs became incentives. Bonuses rained down like trophies at a parade. The highest earners weren't employees anymore. They were idols. Celebrated, protected, untouchable. Everyone else. Expendable. Fear kept the system moving. Loyalty kept it silent. At the center stood one voice, repeating a single command. If you're not winning, you're worthless. The rewards kept escalating. Mansions, helicopters, a yacht bearing his wife's name. Each purchase louder than the last, each one demanding proof that the illusion was real. Because lies don't survive on truth. They survive on constant reinforcement. And the larger the illusion grows, the more violent its collapse becomes. The cracks appear. Regulators noticed. Complaints stacked up. Investors watched $7 stocks become 30 cents. Inside the firm, whispers started. But the answer was always the same. Close or leave. Money was moved offshore. Accounts hid under relatives' names. Cash smuggled in envelopes. At one point, money was sewn into clothing. This wasn't confidence anymore. This was panic. And panic makes mistakes. Addiction, arrogance, and the final blind spot. What once felt optional became unavoidable. Drugs were no longer rewards, they were fuel. Desks turned into crash sites. Conversations dissolved mid-sentence. Arguments erupted without warning. Judgment didn't fade, it vanished. Then came the moment that should have ended everything. A supercar. A concrete pillar. And a child strapped into the passenger seat. He walked away. And survival only fed the illusion that he was untouchable. Weeks later, the warning signs screamed louder than ever. Weather alerts, frantic crew members, common sense. All ignored. The yacht left the harbor anyway. Alcohol in control. Ego at the helm. Out in open water, the sea answered back. The hull took on water. The luxury turned fragile. The myth cracked. Everyone survived the rescue. But power didn't. Because that night, somewhere between the waves and the flashing lights, the empire didn't just falter. It quietly began to drown. The knock on the door. Journalists started asking questions. Then the FBI. Financial crime agents don't chase chaos. They follow patterns. Wires. Withdrawals. Property mismatches. And then betrayal. Brokers flipped. Phones were recorded. Scripts were archived. October 1996. The raid. Desks emptied. Hard drives copied. It was over. Or so it seemed. Because even under investigation, he moved more money. That single decision sealed everything. The deal that changed the ending. Facing decades in prison, he did what he always did best. He sold. This time he sold people. He cooperated. Friends. Partners. Students. Over 30 were charged. Some served more time than he did. He received 22 months. Minimum security. Tennis. Weights. Writing. That's where he met a comedian who told him, "Write it down." And that's when the story took its final, twisted turn. Crime becomes content. The book came out. Then the sequel. Then Hollywood. Martin Scorsese. Leonardo DiCaprio. A blockbuster was born. The audience laughed. Critics applauded. And a convicted fraudster became a cultural icon. But here, what didn't make the movie? The teacher who lost her pension. The veteran who lost everything. The families who never recovered. Restitution ordered, $110 million. Paid so far. A fraction. And today, he's a speaker. A coach. A reformed success guru. Selling ethics. Let that sink in. Why this story still matters. Here's the real question. Did he beat the system? Or did the system reward him? Because today the same tactics exist. Different packaging. Different platforms. Crypto. Influencer stocks. Discord signals. AI trading promises. Same psychology. Urgency. Authority. Fear of missing out. And the scariest part. It works because we want it to. So tell me. Was he a monster? Or just a mirror? Comment below. Do you think society secretly admires people like this, or should stories like this be told very differently? If you want more stories that expose how power, money, and manipulation really work, like, subscribe, and share this video. Because the next scam won't look like the last one. And it might already be in your feed.